Hello, everyone, and welcome to another great episode of Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host. I have Tom Pogson joining me today on the podcast. Hello, Tom, and welcome back as usual. It's always a fantastic pleasure to having you on the show. And we're going to talk about basic income. And imagine just giving people just that money that they need to buy what they need in life.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
That's such a big concept. I mean,
imagine all the money.
oh yeah,
living in people's
we came straight in with it.
Must be funny in a rich man world.
I'm gonna do something different. Here we go. Whoa! I had this whole idea planned. Since it's gonna be a musical thing anyway.
Sure.
Let's see. Does that work, or does it need to be lower? What? Okay.
And everyone listening to today's episode, we always spice things
original
up.
and then a non-original.
We're not really even having a show today. It's just it's gonna be a live with Tom Pogson. Unplugged.
Yeah.
Unplugged.
Unplugged. Yeah,
Liberté, égalité, fraternité, liberté, liberté, égalité, fraternité. As I went walking, there was a big wall there. Sign was painted, said private property, but on the back side it didn't say nothing. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California, from the New York Islands, the Redwood Forest, from the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me, for you and me, for you and me, for you and me.
Now before we
There we go.
before we went live though,
Yeah.
we have to tell people that we were doing at the Coca-Cabana.
I don't know the
Right?
for that one yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. So, yeah. Before I also start, of course, I want to pay tribute to Senator Hugh Segal, who unfortunately our movement lost in the last week or so. Yeah, it was about a week ago or so.
Yeah.
And he,
So tragic.
from even his political opponents, like, because he was a conservative senator, former cabinet minister Brian Mulroney. He was also an educator. But he called, even his political opponents called him the happy warrior. And he was somebody who, like, it was the politics that he would do. It wasn't personal. Like, it was like, let's debate and then we can go for a beer after. Like, he was amazing from everything I've heard. I've unfortunately never met the man, but yeah, he was like the longest running advocate for basic income in Canada. He has a book out which has been out for ages called Bootstraps Need Boots: One Lonely Tory's Fight to End Poverty in Canada. And yeah, he was advocating for it back when the Crow Report happened in 1971, and yeah, But one of the reasons I also started with that piece, so that's I'm kind of I'm putting together this project called The Commons, and which is based on the idea of the commons, and it's also it's almost like being here, kind of speaking on behalf of who I've learned from was Guy Standing, that the reason for basic income comes back to people like Thomas Paine and that ethical argument for basic income, as opposed to like, we'll need it someday, or automation. I don't know, is automation really coming? It's like, it's actually something that goes beyond that. It's
already here.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's already in Canada.
But then people do this and they're like, no.
Yeah, like,
don't show me that.
But it's like, as Paine said, or tried to explain in his book Agrarian Justice, we enclose the commons. That people had, like, there's where is it? Right here. This, I actually printed this out, and I was so weird that I actually read it out in Beacon Hill Park, which is on my channel. But it's called this is the original. Originally, it was called the Chart of the. It is the Chart of the Forest, which I don't know if you can see that. It kind of looks like that.
Oh wow!
Wow!
It's actually really beautiful. I'd love to get a color copy of it and like put it somewhere, because it's actually a very beautiful looking thing. But it's, of course, it's written in Old English from 1217, which accompanied the second sealing of the Magna Carta. So when you read it out loud, people go, "What?"
Wherefore art thou, Romeo?
Yeah, like they use words that aren't used anymore, like mull and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like Section 3, all woods made forest by King Richard our uncle or by King John our father up to the time of the first coronation shall be immediately disforested, unless it be our demesne wood. And there's other parts like that in there, which it's basically when the land was forested, it's got nothing to do with like deforestation. It was that the lands were then taken by the crown away from the commoners. That charter gave the commoners the commons back. And essentially, Guy Standing traces that back as being like the first kind of basic income, because it gave people the right to subsistence in the commons. People could hunt there. People could like look for like mall. They could look for things they needed, like for their housing or for whatever. They could encamp there. Which is why I read it in Beacon Hill Park, because of course everyone was pushed out of the park.
Yeah.
And so like this, like the original land belonged to everyone, which is the point that Woody Guthrie was making in his song. And the first one was Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité, which is, it's going back to that kind of Guy addressed this. It's like that belief of the rights of man, that it was kind of that came out in the French Revolution, where they were trying to see a more progressive politics and looking to a politics of, as he says, a politics of paradise, as opposed to going the other direction, and looking for a better foundation where basic income is just the anchor. It's not a panacea. It's just the anchor, which then we can put other things on top of. Like maybe here's the basic income, and a hopefully good version of the CDB then sits on top of that, so that a person like, they at least, like a friend of mine from Twitter, Miss Design Diva, she was like, I tried for ages to get onto disability, but they wouldn't believe me because I have a hidden disability. So this makes it so that, okay, you're at least off the hot coals, and then if you're able to get onto disability, then you get that as well. We also need healthcare, other things as well, like maybe subsidized transit, subsidized pharmacare, make it so that, eyes and teeth are part of the human body when it comes to healthcare.
They are?
One would think. Oh, amazing.
They are?
They must have been left out, literally.
But and so basic income is like, we enclose, it's like we as Carl Whitaker said, we enclose the commons. We said, well, you can't have these resources until we do as we say. And it's like basic income goes, no, we're giving you the commons back in the form of like, now you have the resources to survive again. And then we can also, and like there's like Commonwealth Canada, it's all about the different kinds of commons, socioeconomic commons and stuff, and how so much of what we've done has been built together. It's almost like, when it comes to technology, it's almost like we're working ourselves out of a job. So not having a basic income is actually kind of insane, because we're literally like, that's what's, as Victor Schvetz, another kind of hero of mine, has explained. We've had these two twin hurricanes since '71, financialization and technology, that have taken wages and just very slowly, but eventually they're going to hit this number, and no one gets ahead of that. So it's like, instead of people having to run faster and faster, it's like, no. let's put down this mechanism that makes it so you're at least okay, and then you can decide what to do, especially when like I have to address it as well, like all the fires, like now Kelowna's in danger. Northwest Territories. Like, I mean, I had like this vision in the future of like we're all going to have to eventually go to the north. Well, apparently not the north. The south. It's like, and so people need the ability to not only like be able to, try to do things to not end up in these situations, but also if these situations do happen, then we can adjust to it. There's money to escape. To if you have to leave, you got money for that hotel. You got money for, oh God, my medication is, I can go buy some. Like all these other little externalities. Like if you have to like if I had to like rush out of this house, I'd be like, I forgot my fretless or something. I'd be like, oh damn, I didn't get CC's. I didn't get like my loved ones, whatever. Like So
and it comes down to autonomy, Tom. It's really making decisions that the person wants to make for themselves. Having that income, that threshold.
Well, I think this is one of the places the right actually jump right on board basic income, because it's like, as opposed to the kind of government bureaucracy of you should have this. We say no, you decide. And like as a person with, like my loved one, she has diabetes and she has other sodium intolerance and things. I have IBS-CD that's so aggressive I eat the wrong thing. I can't leave this house for 12 hours. All these things to say, here's some free food. I'm like, I wonder if I can eat it. Like, literally, it's far better for me to have the money to go, I need 2 of these, 3 of these. Do you have any of these? Which is a very kind of conservative thing of like less government, less bureaucracy. Great,
Yeah, well,
and it's also an upstream savings.
You just hit the nail on the head there, though, because that's what I was going to mention. And I think I've actually told you this before in a previous show that you were on. I wonder if the apprehension of bringing these basic incomes to light is the fact that they will be getting rid of bureaucracy. I think the government wants the bureaucracy, right?
Yes. There's certain people that want these things to
they want it to be top heavy. They want it to be, give us the fat and all of the crap and bureaucracy.
They can't do some of the
they want it
that Teresa Funicello talks about in her book Tyranny of Kindness. It's like they can't do that stuff if that's in place. And people that are, horrible and abusive to workers, they come straight at me like, what do you mean abusive? It's like, you're one of them, aren't you? It's like, you can't do that stuff if people have, like, this is the reason that's like, unions should be 100% behind this, because the ability to unionize comes from the courage to go, yes, I'm going to stand up and be counted. And that floor, it's like, I really love how Scott explained it. It's like Scott Sanson's, which is that the union idea is like, one stick is easy to break, but a bunch of sticks is hard to break. Well, basic income makes us into a bunch of iron rods. It's like impossible to break, because each person has their own individual strike fund, and people, once they have security, they look for more security. People don't go, no, that's enough for security. Fuck it. Like, I
don't need it.
Remember that line there, Neil? Bigger, stronger, better.
We can rebuild him.
We can rebuild.
We have the technology. Better than he was before. Better, faster, stronger. And the only reason I know that is because I was such a huge fan of that show.
What show is that?
The Bionic Man.
I never said that's why I don't.
$6 million Man. It was the greatest show ever.
Right. I know of it. I've never actually seen it.
But
that's right. Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
There was that article.
Bill Bixby, yes, right, Bill Bixby.
Yeah.
There was that interview I just listened to recently with Mo Gadat. I think I might. I don't know if I put that on one of my playlists or whatever, maybe. But he's talking about, like, he's former Google executive, and he was saying how, like, the situation with AI is like, it's worrying, but it's only worrying if we, like, we need to take it seriously, whatever. But one of the things with it is AI is learning from us. It's learning from us on these things.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so if it sees us all hating each other and angry and whatever, it thinks, oh, I guess that's how we do stuff. It's like AI has 8 billion parents, you know?
Yeah.
And
that
we can
stuff,
actually create a better society,
freaks the shit out of me too.
I know,
Sure.
because the devices actually listen. They, I know one day I was watching a program. I don't know what was going on. I started laughing. I can't recall what it was, but all of a sudden, I don't understand. I'm like, what? I'm like, my phone all of a sudden,
Yes.
what? It says,
No, I'll be in there.
That?
We have an older, like, what was it, Google thing. It's that little white one that's
Oh yeah, the speaker. Yeah, Google speaker.
Yeah, and it's like, sorry, yeah, I don't understand. Like, I didn't even ask you.
That's scary though, because it monitors what you're saying.
Yeah.
And how much data is that recording?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, I mean, we carry these with us, and like, yeah, who knows?
I think how much data? It's like, yeah, what basic income? What basic income?
Yeah.
I understand. I'm computing. It will help how many people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also like oh, the book's way over there. There's a book that I keep getting out. Guy Standing's book. Guy Standing fan, as everyone knows. But this book, The Precariat Charter, which is sequel to The Precariat, and he talks about utilitarianism and how the situation with charity is so flawed, and so much of everything, it comes from like the beginning. Like, it's been these arguments around for centuries, but then Reagan kind of brought them back again. You know, here's a lefty dunking on Reagan, but the welfare queen thing is kind of that thing that started that ramp towards like more neoliberalism and so forth, of utilitarianism, where you're favoring the majority over the minority. It's like favoring. It's almost like that streetcar thing where it's like you can hit the 6 people or you can hit the 1 person. And I'm like, is there anyone on that streetcar? No, great. You know, like. But to me, that's what basic income does. And some people don't like that. Like, literally, that was the problem in the 70s with some of the conservatives who didn't like Richard Nixon's really toned down thing called the Family Assistance Plan, which was a basic income, but for families. They didn't like the fact that it was like, what was it called? It would symbolic pollution, where it's like it would take deserving poor, undeserving poor, and working poor and get rid of all those phrases. It would just be everyone. And so I just didn't like that idea. And it's like that welfare queen thing is based on an actual person who there's no way in the world anyone could call that person lazy. I think her name was Linda Taylor. She was a criminal. She was a killer. And she was on just a revenge rampage because she grew up in, you know, the deep South as a mixed color person. So she grew up with everyone angry at her just for being. And so she just, like, that's why she had all these different identities, and she probably did have there was probably fraud involved. But it's because she was on the run for like decades, causing all kinds of mayhem. So like one thing you can't say about Taylor was that she was lazy. And then this kind of, you know, Reagan used that as kind of, oh, look, this is what they do. And it's like, no, I mean, like there's always like 1% of people who, you know, who try to game the system, but most people on the system are fucking scared to do anything. Like, this is the point that an American disabled person who is fighting for basic income said. It's like, you finally get through all these burning hoops, and then you're like, don't move. Well, that's not what we want people to do, you know. Like,
like under the ADA, the U.S. Disability Association.
Yeah, it's like you actually made another good point there, Tom. It's, you get through all those hoops, and it's like, as you're going through hoops, you're like in a smaller and smaller and smaller box. Yeah. It's like, you know, you just get funneled and funneled and funneled and funneled until, like you said, there's no room to go anywhere. You're just like this.
It's like they just keep squeezing you in more and more. Yeah. And you get to a breaking point, right?
It's like they already have those rules in place, like don't leave the province for more than 30 days, and empty your pockets, and like,
oh no, you can't go.
and please declare the last time you were in jail, and all this kind of stuff. You know, it's all this stuff.
Yeah, like Guy talks about like workers looking under beds for how many pairs of slippers there are. It's like, okay, like this is a situation that I have where like it's so annoying. my loved one has, challenges beyond just her original disability is fetal alcohol, but she has all these other things. And so I've had to like sometimes leave work, come back, help, and then go back to work. I've had situations where like something has happened within 30 minutes of me getting to work, and it's like, and then I'm like, we try to be careful. So like workers like who I'm a roommate, and but it's like we're listening to this person talk. Like I'm the helpful roommate, and it's like does she have a home care worker, a home support worker? And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, like that. It's like the basic income alarm in me is like blaring in my ears. It's like, this is exactly the kind of thing. Like, I mean, like there was an example that Scott made where like, or like, I don't know if this is real, but maybe it is. But like you'd have these two women who both need to work because that's what, we have this thing about jobs. Everyone has to be working. So, and they both have kids. So what do they do for work? Babysit each other's kids. Oh, for
yeah. Well, I mean, I'll tell you a real world example that happened to me, Tom. And I mean, I've told this story before. I don't know if you remember, Brent. Back when I first started this whole thing about the clawback, my first wife passed away, and so I got the survivor's pension clawback, right? Well, so then the Ministry of Children and Families got involved, and they said, well, we will give you, because they were clawing back over $700 of my pension at the time, the survivor's pension, the Social Development Ministry, I should say. And then but then the Ministry of Children and Families got involved and said, well, you know what? We will give you $700. I think it was actually $800 of support every month if you allow another person to babysit your son. What? And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? That the Ministry of Children and Families will give me $800 to somebody else, but you won't give me the support, the actual parent that wants to stay home and look after their son. It's like they're like, fuck that. We can't have the actual parent that wants to stay home and look after the. So it's like, we'll give $800 to a stranger to look after your son, but fuck, we were not going to give you $800 so you can look after your own son. Screw that.
Yeah. It's just,
I mean, sorry for swearing, but it's just so stupid, right?
It's like David, the late, a great and amazing David Graeber said it. It's like jobs have become seen as a good in and of themselves. Like there is he wrote a book called Bullshit Jobs, which is absolutely, I mean, it advocates for basic income, but it's absolutely worth listening to or reading. And I've shouted it out. But as he said, like 37% of British workers believe they have a job that they think doesn't need to exist. It's like, as he said, it's like I'd be at a party with people or whatever, and they'd be like, oh, you're an anthropologist, what's that like? You get to go to other countries, and I'd be like, well, what do you do? And they're like, I got this job, I'm the senior Southwest representative of I don't really do anything, like and they said, like, a computer could do this whole thing or whatever, but and it's like, how often? And so he's like, he started asking, like, how often do you actually do anything at your job? How often do you think you really work? And well, to be honest, I probably do that like a couple hours like a week, but I stretch it out. Don't tell my boss, but a computer could do the whole thing. And it's like he started digging into it, and he created this email account called like, "Do I have a bullshit job?" And it was like a confessional. People were like emailing him like crazy, so he built this book from that. And so you have that. You have all the people that work for those bullshit jobs, and then you also have 4-day work weeks. But of course, as like I'm a cleaner, there's other people that work in cafes and whatever. Well, if let's say everyone takes off Friday, well then all of us have to work more because we have to make up that difference because we've just lost Fridays.
So what's frustrating is the government gives all this money rather than giving it to the recipients, right? They give all this money to all these charities, all these corporations, and they say, "Oh, look what we're doing." Well, people of us say, "Well, put the money in our pockets so we can better utilize the money, put it back into the economy." Oh, no, you need to go here or help because these other organizations are going to represent you and their best interest. Their best interest, not yours.
Even if they're nice guys, like this is the point Teresa makes. Even if they're nice guys, let's say it's a food bank and it's mostly volunteers, it's still not as effective. Automatically, if you're a food bank, you're probably located downtown, so you've got you've got high rent, whether it's donated or not. You still have high rent. You can have a situation like your boiler breaks. Well, we have to, all these things. And as she explained, let's say you have a $1.50 head of lettuce. From that $1.50 head of lettuce, which doesn't happen most food banks I've been to, but anyway, but leaves the save on food or whatever, hits them and then gets to the person. By the time it's done that, it's an $8 head of lettuce. Why not just give the person the $8?
Not only that, but I mean, let's be, let's recognize that most people that have disabilities have mobility challenges, right?
Yes.
And if you have a mobility challenge, how easy is it to hop on a bus, cart back a bunch of bags, like 8 bags of groceries, bring them back on a bus? Like that's why I don't do it.
Yeah,
I can't go to the food bank and do that.
No, but if you've already opted out of the bus pass, then
I've opted out of the bus pass because that's bullshit too. So I've opted out.
Yeah.
You know, so that's another reason why I don't go and do that, because
that's another part.
Candy dart. Well, I might be able to go this week if I schedule it.
That's right. You gotta tell me 2 weeks in advance, and then maybe.
Yeah, but the other part that's frustrating on that pass is that later in the month you decide, oh, I actually need to do more transportation. Well, now you've already opted out. Too late. You got to wait to the next month.
Yeah.
It's like it's that's so corny how they just got rid of it. Oh, the computer system, they dismantled it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they dismantled the computer system that operates the bus pass program. Yeah. But hey, seniors.
Michelle Stillwell's finest hour was that.
I think that was unusual. They talk about the government computers, and they're like really, really quite old.
And I bumped into
you'd be spending on.
Tom, I bumped into the minister back years ago, and I said, so why did you dismantle it? Well, I wasn't the one who dismantled it. It was the current government. I said, but you're the one who actually signed off on it, because there was equity in the system. I said, equity for who? A handful of people, like 5 or 6 people that changed the whole system.
Yeah.
I mean, says, right. But the thing is that extra $52 in your pocket? I go, yeah. So you just go to the grocery store, poof, one time. But how do you go and buy those groceries if you've opted out of the bus pass?
Right.
It was literally 5 to 6 people that were complaining, right?
Yeah.
Quite literally, honest 5 to 6 people that were complaining. So you're quite right. I mean, they blew up the entire system because 5 to 6 people were complaining and saying, these 5 or 6 people are complaining, so we're going to blow everything up and discredit 99.9% of the population and say
compass too.
It's just
and the people who basically lived in the rural area, they didn't actually have a bus pass. They had a special transportation subsidy amount, and I can't recall how much. I think it was almost $700 or something per year.
Yeah.
So they would actually have that lump sum. They could use it to go and buy insurance for their vehicle. The government took that away. They took all the other recipients' bus passes away, but said, here, everybody's going to have $52. Well, those same recipients in those rural areas, maybe they used that as a lump sum to go and buy their insurance. What are they going to do? Use $52 toward my insurance every month? Well, it would take you, over a year equivalent to basically have the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just so...
Like the one I learned about yesterday, the $75. The $75.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
$75. I'm like, what's that for? When bylaw sweeps your tent, you got a couple more tents in reserve.
It's like,
I saw that on their site one day. I had one of the other advocates was asking me about rates, and Joseph was actually asking me how it triggered it off, and I had come across it, and he said, what are the current rates in BC? He was doing a comparison, and so I said, okay. So I was going through, and I'm like, what's this $75? I didn't even know that it was there under the shelter. And I'm thinking, what the hell? how can you rent? You can't rent for $500, let alone 75. You know, what are you gonna do?
You can't get that's not one night at a hotel room. I've checked this. I mean, I checked this out a few years ago, and one night in a hotel room in Victoria is like 100 and something. I mean, maybe depending on the room.
140, 150.
It's like on Gorge somewhere, but a lot of those have been changed into other things.
If it's 75, I kind of wonder what kind of condition it's in. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
You know, I'll be scratching after the time I leave out of there.
Yeah.
Get one of those blue lights and look for stains on the sheets.
Yeah. Oh, what's that? Oh, hey. Can I have my $75, please?
Oh, that was from The Office. It's like, what was it? What is? Yeah, they were playing with the blue light in the hotel, and then they turn onto the bed, and like, it was like urine, semen, or something.
Blood.
God, I hope it's urine.
Yeah.
I remember there was a segment I used to watch on TV. They pulled it. It was called Hotel Hell.
Yeah.
And it was Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
I used to love that segment. But he'd go around his little light.
With the blue light, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the conditions, though. $75. I mean, $500. Like I said the other day on my show, just to kind of recap, the one little part was you can't rent for 75. You can't rent for 500. And that $500, folks, anyone listening to it, it only got that $500, the $125 increase only if you had your renting go up. So if your rent never went up, and I don't know what landlord wouldn't put your rent up about $375. I mean, frozen for 16 years. But hey, guess what? We give you $125, but you have to prove that your rent went up based on the information that the ministry has on file.
Yeah.
So not everybody got that $125 increase. So say they all did. Oh, bonus. The ones in subsidized housing, great. But the ones in market housing, well, yeah, you just basically give it to the landlord if you had, a couple of rent increases and they hadn't increased anything in 2 years. Yeah. Which happened to me. I had 2 rent increases. So I'm going, okay, so now I guess I recoup a little bit of that money.
Right.
So you go to the store and boof. But you can't rent on a whole check for that amount. Last time I checked, rent in Victoria alone is well over $2,000 now for one bedroom.
Yeah. I just
$3,000, $4,000 for 2 bedrooms.
And I just saw an article posted that was on Twitter, I think, that Ravi Cohen is looking at what the cap on the next rental increase is going to be.
Oh.
So, because we all know that rent increase is coming, and he's working on the caps for that.
Right.
Oh, maybe he's going to tie the rent to the unit.
Yeah. Like when it comes to basic income and the subject of rent, like there's the conversation around like will rents increase, which is a whole thing itself, but also like a lot of this comes from financialization and rentier capitalism itself, which came from years and years of developing in that direction. And as Guy explains his book, Corruption of Capitalism. But it's like you have the danger is like, we're going to create all this housing. Well, what stops them from going, oh, great, new stuff to invest in, bang, 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 bang. Mm-hmm. So what we have to have is like, Commonwealth Canada goes over this with land value taxes, but things to go after that kind of activity so that it actually stops becoming, something to invest in. It starts becoming actual housing for people. Mm-hmm. Go after them with things like land value tax, financial transaction tax, other things in the market mechanisms to then create the money, which then can also help people from the other end with basic incomes. And the one thing about basic income, like Yang actually explained this pretty well, which is that landlords are stationary with a basic you and your basic income aren't stationary, and so you can go. It goes wherever you go. So if a landlord goes, haha, I'm raising it up. Well, maybe if you got the money, maybe you can go somewhere else, or you can throw down with some friends on a fixer-upper, or God knows what else. But it's like there's that as well. And because it's still a market economy, the market economy doesn't stop happening just because a basic income is put in place. And so, but also in Canada with a GLBI, that landlord actually wouldn't know, unless you volunteered the information, wouldn't know how much money you're getting because it could be $700, it could be $300, it could be the full $2,000, it could be $100, depending on what your income already is. So they're really just taking a chance. And the worst thing a landlord could possibly have is piss everyone off enough and people find their way out, but he's got a building with no one renting it. And then it's like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that.
Like, I mean, this might be an oversimplification, but you know how there's provincial parks and everything. I mean, the provinces own parks and things like that, and we had things like BC Rail and Canada Rail and we had BC Transit. Like, all these things were provincial entities, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if the provinces weren't so quick to like get rid of all these entities that they used to have under their possession.
Yeah.
Like, they could have, like, all these provinces or the federal government could have had all this land, and as you said, to remove the financialization, they could have had all this land, pockets of land, and developed buildings that they control, the governments control, and then you've gotten rid of all the financialization, you've gotten rid of all the greedy landlords, because here is the government that's taking control of their own entities. But they're just nickeling and just selling things off, like, oh well, it doesn't matter, we'll sell this off, and all these other people are capitalizing on, they're saying, oh well, now we can turn a profit, and and that's,
that was the whole neoliberal kind of move, where we used to have those things, and then when there was the idea was, people I should state up front, the word neoliberal means new liberal, but it's not liberal as in liberal party, as in Democrats, as in left or whatever. There's actually liberalism is actually two kinds: classical liberalism, social liberalism. Social liberalism is essentially the left. Classical liberalism is the right. So classical liberalism is Pierre Poilievre or whoever, whereas social liberalism would be more, not even Trudeau really, but maybe Jagmeet, I guess, or NDP or whatever.
When you're talking Neo, are you talking the Matrix? the red pill versus the blue pill?
This one.
I'll show you how far the rabbit hole really goes. It's like from that point onward, it was the commodification, private financial. It was like getting everything out of the way of the market, which included these kinds of public things, these kind, like unions and any, trying to whittle public things down until, okay, it's not really working, so we'll privatize it, and so the thought was, private things will be more effective because government wastes stuff. But government is also too crazy lefty, but with public funding, things can often be far more invested in than a private situation where there's all these other kind of market things. And also with healthcare, you don't really want, healthcare to be involved, or money and financial and private whatever to be involved in something like healthcare. It's like, you want to make sure that it's and other market things aren't messing it around.
Who's that? Sorry to keep interrupting you, but who is that guy that does all the documentaries, and he had the one about the healthcare in the States? What's his name? Michael.
Robert Reich?
Pardon?
Robert Reich?
No, there's a real famous filmmaker, Michael something.
Oh, Michael Moore, yeah.
Michael Moore.
Yeah.
He had a commentary about the healthcare in the States, and there was a guy that got two of his fingers amputated, and he only had money enough to reattach one. And so he thought, well, I'll reattach my ring finger, and then they basically tossed his other finger because he didn't have the money to get both fingers attached. So it's like, well, just toss the other one then. Can you imagine? Can you? I mean, that
maybe it was the finger pointing, saying, don't do that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, like one of his I really like is Where to Invade Next, where he shows there was that one company, it's a motorcycle, Ducati, where the CEO is like, yes, the CEO only makes a little bit more than his employees, and he's like, hey, come on, you're the CEO, you could be making millions more. Most CEOs make 350 times more than their employees now. He's like, No, I'd feel bad. It'd just feel really weird for me to be like driving home in a Ferrari and everyone else is like struggling. I'd just feel bad about it. It's like, you know, and it's like, oh, that guy's awesome. But so many of the so many of these ideas that are considered like lefty or whatever now, back then, like America actually kind of like helped a lot of countries after World War II, and then, oh yeah, you should have full healthcare. You should have this, you should have this, and you should have this. But then they had their own. There was other things that politically happened, and so that it couldn't happen over here. But it like worked really well over there. And then there's also, I was going somewhere with that other thing. I can't remember what it was now.
There's a really good documentary that's out there. I'll post it out this afternoon. I encourage all the basically the viewers watching now, or if you're listening on a podcast later, definitely there's a documentary regarding financialization. It's going back a few years now, but it's still relevant to today's date because it's escalated a lot more. It's who is your landlord? Like, you know who your landlord is? I mean, what's happening regarding exactly what we talked about financialization, Tom? And it's called Push the Film. It was from a guest who I actually had on my show last year, Lalani Farha. She was the UN rapporteur for housing. She is actually involved with pushback talk. So she does a lot of these discussions. Frederick Gerten, he actually was the director of the documentary. And he's actually putting out a new documentary coming up soon. So I find the link, I'll share it. But I encourage people to watch it. It's a real eye opener. She went around the world, and she's based in Ontario, but she went around the world and she to hold some of the corporate landlords to account because it's displacing people on low income. People are making good money, and I won't give away a lot of the info about the documentary, but. There's a part that stood out. Is like, well, how much more can you pay in rent? He says, I'm in other words, he's working around the clock. The poor guy says, well, I can only pay X amount of money. And well, what would happen if it went up to so much? Well, then, he doesn't know what to do, right? There was a part. Remember, there was when was it now? Years ago, there was that big hotel fire or that tower that was in France. That part's actually in the documentary, and it covered that part in the documentary. Now the people lost their homes. Now, was it who knows why that happened? Well, there's reasons, right? So these corporate landlords, I mean, they'll just flip it out because they want it vacant. Why? They can jack up the rent now because there's no vacancy control. Now the government of the day say, oh no, we've done rent control. But they haven't done that vacancy control. Now I know Acorn Canada is really all over this.
Acorn's awesome,
and they're all over it. They want to see vacancy control. So when a tenant moves out, so say Sonia and myself, we move out of here, who knows when. Our landlord is itching right now. They want us to move because they want to get $1,750 or even more. Probably by the time we move, it'll be well over $2,000. So it's crazy, right? And that kind of ticks them off. When people don't move, the landlords are getting mad because they want to make money. And why? Like, one of my management, and I respect them highly because they're great people, of course. But when it comes down to money, they admitted that sky high is the limit. Like I said, how high is the rent going to go? As high as
I can hear a guy in my head like going, they can charge whatever they like, and that's exactly what they do things like patent hoovering some of these things, which is actually is a little bit like that guy from the movie Pretty Woman, where he was talking about how what do I do? I take companies and I sell them for parts. What some of these guys, these giant companies do, they come along, take a company, throw out the employees, throw out the building, get the patents, which each patent gives them a monopoly profit for 70 years. And so they're making billions from these patents, which then makes them even more powerful, even more able to like take this. And they can just, this is the thing. These guys come into your town and they could just go like that. It was my base.
Well, it's like Monopoly. Basically what they're doing. They're playing it like Monopoly right now.
Well,
and that's actually, I mean, that's the funny thing about land value tax. It was actually the game Monopoly was created originally. It was a game called the Landlord's Game with other rules called Prosperity. It was created by a woman named come on. Georges are hating me right now. It was based on the writings of Henry George and Lizzie Magie. That's it, Lizzie Magie. She made this game in 18 something, and the prosperity rules didn't really catch on, but the cutthroat version caught on. And then this guy named I can't remember his name, but Darrow, I think, and he based it on his favorite haunt of Atlantic City, which included Boardwalk, Park Place, whatever. He colorized it, made it a little more poppy, and that's what took off. But it was actually based on land value tax. Like if you put that in place, then you start to you make it so that like holding onto a vacant lot or not taking care of a building or whatever starts to look a lot less profitable, as opposed to property tax. And one thing I thought is like, why not take, if your property tax in a community or whatever is this much, well then why don't you take a little bit of that and just go, let's do a 1% land value tax and just see how that works. And it starts working really well. Let's go 2%.
What? There was other versions of Monopoly. There was one, I think it was a Canadian edition, wasn't it? Douglas Street.
All the different like Star Wars Monopoly.
And then you blend in the game called I'm Sorry. I'm sorry.
One of the reasons I took to the subject of rentierism so quickly was because, and I can't mention names, I'm in a band. I play this instrument here. And
you're not gonna mention that name either.
Yeah, well,
that it's a guitar.
My Fender. but
ours goes to 11.
Like these are some of the people we play for. So, but like, it's like our band started by playing a lot of seniors homes, and the seniors homes that would hire you would typically these higher end seniors homes. And I've had people say like, oh, so is this what you do? It's like, well, no, because the seniors homes entertainment budget for like a month is only like sometimes like $150 or maybe $200. Meanwhile, their tenants are paying, this is years ago, are paying $3,000 a month. These are seniors for like a one bedroom.
Yeah, and now they're even higher, like someplace like $4,000 or $5,000.
Yeah, but some of these guys, they're like these big like seniors homes where they have a whole series of them and they're all connected or whatever. It's like they're owned by somebody in California. So we've had situations where we go to get paid or whatever, and we have to wait like a year because they can't be bothered to send the check. And it's like, wow. It's like, how are these people being taken care of? Well, they're paying top dollar. And so I was already kind of used to this idea of like these guys that would from afar just go, buy all that.
Short investment.
As they get more powerful, who can stop them? So it's like when people say, where do we get the money? Those guys, like, like that's where the money's been flowing up to.
And hold the world hostage for $1 million.
$1 million. Yeah. And then you got these corporate elite companies, and then we got satellites, little offices.
Yeah.
And we found this out, and I'm not going to say the name of the company because, but, and if we went to go rent from one of them, we got the place.
Yeah.
We sat there and, we're being audited. We're being audited. Not us, the actual company. Audited. I mean, why would you tell a potential tenant that you're being audited? Really? Well, what's going on here? I'm thinking, well, maybe we better not rent here, right? So what it is, they could now claim with their income tax less because they're a small company, individual off the bigger company, but claim that they're a small little tiny company. And that's some shady stuff going on. And that's not the first time I heard that. I heard it from my neighbors. Some of them say, well, they rented from so-and-so place. And I said, no, that's a big company. Really? Oh, well, they said they were just a small company. Yeah. They don't have to pay all the corporate taxes. Now, here's the shocking thing that some people don't realize, that some of these big corporate landlords, they don't pay tax in Canada.
Yeah.
Really? They're like, what? Yeah.
Maybe you and I should start a company, Brent, for PWD Allies, and then we can just start writing off all our lunches and things like that.
Yeah.
That's that's the reason that freedom
we'll get Tim Hortons and have it.
That's the reason, like,
we'll just say business lunch for everything.
Yeah. It's on us. Don't worry.
Yeah. Timbits for everyone.
I had an incorporation a while ago because I was working on a film project called Ollie and Emma and some other things, and so me and my former co-writer, we had this film project, and we had a production company, and you can write off all kinds of, like, I've talked to the band about this. It's like, we'd have to kind of go, so we've been making money, but and the whole conversation would be quite interesting with CRA. But once you get going, you can write off this. I don't know if you can actually write off food, but you can write off, like,
you can.
Or for entertainment purposes, if I'm entertaining a client, therefore you have food or whatever.
If it's for travel, if it's travel related and the dining expense, then you can. I learned that with an executive thing. So when I was under an executive, I mean, wow, it's like just keep your receipts and then we'll submit it here. Like here's the money.
Yeah.
Okay, and then just keep submitting the receipts just to show what you spend. And
do you remember?
I used $110.
Yeah, and I used to work for I used to work for provincial government, if you recall, for like 7 years, and I had to go over to Victoria a few times, and the first time I went over, you remember when walk-ons was like $7?
Yeah,
it was $7. It was $7 for a walk-on, and so I remember I submitted my receipts. It was $7 times 2, and it was like, I think it was like $15 for the lunch on the ferry. So it was like, it was like under $30, and I go, here you go, and they're like, what? They're like, what? That's it? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, what? Like they'd never seen something that was like that small before. Like, what?
Wow.
Well, here's another scenario on that. So I traveled. They were expecting me to take a plane back. We were going through a seminar, and they wanted me, I guess, to take a flight back. Well, I wanted to do some sightseeing. I wanted to see, hey, let's take a Greyhound. That's go stop in Langley and stay the night. I mean, the cost of the flight would have actually taken way more than that. So I took a Greyhound, stopped over, stayed the night in Langley, checked out the hood, and then looked at the time. Oh, gee, we had a barbecue to go to. Oh. Okay, well, I guess I better get down to Vancouver in a hurry. Sonia goes, well, how do we get there in a hurry? I go, well, the Translink's not going to get us there in that time. Like, there's just no way. Take the bus, take the Sky train, and then take the other bus down to West Vancouver, down to Horseshoe Bay. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. So I looked at it and I said, well, she goes, I said, well, leave it in my hands. I talked to the guy at the hotel. He's like, geez, I don't know. There's no way you can make it down. I go, no. He goes, no. I'll call a cab for you. What, are you kidding me? A cab. I called the cab company. Well, where are you going? Actually, Vancouver. Vancouver. No problem. We'll come and pick you up right away. It's like, then there was an accident on the freeway. Oh, I'm sorry. He says, sorry, man. I'm really sorry. I'm stuck in traffic. Don't worry about it. I said, don't worry about it. It's all good. $110. So I gave him another $10 tip. Here you go. Oh, you're very generous, sir. Thank you so much. Can I help you with your luggage? So I took the seaplane. Right over to Nanaimo.
Yeah,
nice.
I've been on a seaplane once too, and they're great. Like the idea that you land in water, it's like, wow.
Yeah,
it's cool. It's so cool.
We got all this whole thing done in the trip, and they still came back with like $700. I think almost $700 myself. Sonia came back with like $600 something. And they're like, what? How is this? But they were pissed off at me. They were pissed off at me because I spent $110 on a taxi. And I go, how can you be pissed off? Well, you want me to take a freaking plane, and it would have used up all my travel expense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I came back and I saved them like $1,300.
Wow.
You do that, and they fed us all of our food expense while we were there, so we didn't have to hardly spend anything except we went and got a pizza and picked up maybe a bottle of wine, couple beers. I had to go to the meeting first thing in the morning, right? And they had a convention. And I was thinking at the time, wow, imagine if of a flat amount, everybody actually had that, enjoyed life, being able to do that. And I was thinking about the basic income kind of concept back then, right?
Yeah.
But here's the embarrassing part was poor Sonia, she was not feeling very good in the morning. She was really not feeling good. She overdid it. She wasn't feeling too well in the morning. And I looked at the time, I go, Sonia, I'll go down, I'll go and get the coffee downstairs. Because all you could have is coffee, as much as you wanted. She says, I can't have anything right now. I said, no, coffee's going to help you. So anyway, it did. But like we get there and she's like, well, we showed up and they already had the conference going. And the conference was going where the then premier, which we had just previously, the predecessor, he was giving an announcement. Well, we showed up and guess what? We just kind of snuck in the back door and sat down, seats behind. Guess what? Guess who saw us right from a distance, right from the stage all the way to the back. And he goes like this. Like, like I see you. And it was like, over here, Anyway, we talked to him after. I was joking around with him and told him, he goes, hey, as long as you guys had fun. You know what I mean? And I mean, happy-go-lucky, but it just boggles me when that the concept is like they can waste money on other things, but you come back and you say, well, here, I've actually done you guys a favor, giving you money here because I'm being responsible with money. Because I've always been, being responsible with money. I mean, you get the most value for your dollar. I mean, that's what I always brought up.
And that's, I mean, we said it before. Like if you give people the money, people know how to spend it. They're not stupid.
No, and then people want to improve their lives. Like that's the thing. Like every single pilot it's almost like it's the low hanging fruit now. Like right now, one of the things we plays into it nicely. One of the things I'm working on is I do lots on my WordPress site, and the current one I'm working on is on the it's actually kind of a subject close to my heart, being a musician who is inspired by the British rock scene, is how so many artists from England had used the dole as a kind of not great basic income, but a basic income. They didn't harass you that much. So people, it was like it was enough for a flat in a pot noodle, basically, and so they could get on. They could get on with it. And from like I'll tease it now, but like from the dole came the police, Depeche Mode, UB40, which literally stood for Unemployment Benefit 40.
Oh yeah,
red wine, those guys, and even
Stay
some of the ones
close to me.
Yeah, even before that, like I think possibly, I think one of the guys from Dire Straits. But I'm finding more and more of these things, and for those like people like before like the dole was like that, or there was other things. There was also this situation with what's it called art college, like so many like Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, some of the big like people from Monty Python. They went to these art colleges, which basically left you alone to do your thing as long as you did your schoolwork or whatever. You had lots of support funding wise.
The Ministry of Silly Walks. I have to.
Yeah, Ministry of Silly Walks.
Have to throw that in there.
Like, so many of these guys, they formed their bands there as long as they didn't make too much money and no one, or did it under the table. Everything was fine. And then from there, it's like, it's like that. Then like Page was like, I started making more money at night than I did in the daytime, so I just started playing with my band, and that was it. So it's just interesting how like you give people money and they know exactly what to do with it, and then and all kinds of stuff is just unleashed, and
money money in a rich man's world.
There's almost like in every band, there's almost like some situation where somebody had like, it's like one member of the band had a situation that made it so they could work on the band full time. Like even for our band, one of our members had a medical situation, and so that person couldn't work, and so that person became essentially our full-time manager. It's like, there it is. Like you have that investment, that possibility, and people are like, they want to go in the direction like they want to go. Like we had friends of the family from the States back when we were kids come to the house, and then they talk to my parents, and they're like, your son and daughter sure ain't couch potatoes. And my mom, Tom, what's a couch? Oh, couch potatoes, right? And it's like, we were, middle class kids. We were, we weren't worried about, if I better work, otherwise poverty's gonna get me. It's like, I'm gonna starve. Like, none of that's real. Like, that's just nonsense. Like people are like, what do I want to do? I want to play guitar. Okay, I'll go do that then. Or they, like, there's all these other things that, people want to be remembered for something, or they want to have relationships, or they want to, it's like I've said, like, you don't put a foundation down and they go, oh, just put a pup tent on it. I don't need a house. Yeah. It's like, no, people want more, and So yeah, it's just not. It's and what's funny about, like, I did another blog, the subject of, like, lazy. It's always thrown at, like, what's that guy who writes about degrowth ideas and things. But as he said, it's like the global south is often called lazy. People with disabilities are called lazy. Low-income workers are called lazy. African American and indigenous people are called lazy. Are you seeing a pattern here? It's people that can be looked down upon by these whatever. They're the ones always called lazy. It's like, it's just not true. There's no thing coming along that's gonna, like, infect you called lazy. It's just nonsense. It's like, there's all kinds of reasons why a person might feel like, in every case, and I've known people that people would say, oh, that person's lazy. There's every time something else going on under the hood. It's like, there's trauma, there's not being inspired by a thing, not wanting to do a thing because it's just, no, it's, like, there was that experience where a kid that I worked with at Tim Hortons, hey, Tim Hortons, he wasn't working out with us, and finally somehow, he ended up no longer working for the company anymore. And then through the family visiting, it's like, they said something like, it's like, oh yeah, so-and-so, he's got a job now. I was like, how's it going? It's like, oh, he's the best employee the guy has ever had. What? Yeah, he's always wanted to do that. And it's like, thank you. When people are not where they want to be, like, I just finally found that little quote by Wilhelm von Humboldt, who was the founder of Humboldt University, Berlin. As he said, you can mechanically get any man to do anything, and they'll do it. But if you can put them in the position, put them in the work they actually are meant to do, that's where, that's where they absolutely shine. And so giving people the ability to not just go with any port in a storm is the whole thing.
Here you go, Tom.
What?
We're gonna get a strike, Brent. I was just busy looking up a poll quote from our previous premier that we had, Mike Harcourt. Remember him?
Oh yeah.
And remember when he had a press conference in front of a bunch of cameras? It was during the dinner time news hour. He came on and he was in front of all those cameras, and he wanted to just do a whole rehaul of the welfare system, right? And so he came on with all the cameras, and he said he called people on welfare varmints and deadbeats. Remember that?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And I mean, I remember that because I was going to college at the time, or it was college or university, and I remember watching the news hour over dinner, and I remember hearing him say that, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I was working in a hotel at the time, and I remember that I literally almost lost my lunch.
The reason I'm saying that, I mean, we can say that's old history.
No, it's not.
It's not, because we're still seeing echoes of that.
Everyone.
We're still seeing echoes of that, like 30 years later. There's still echoes of that.
It's an ideology that infects everything. There's a song it's brand new, called How We See One, which is basically how we see one, we see all. It's like that becomes a foundation of our society. This is the point Carl Whitaker's made. It's like, we have a society based on suspicion. Mm-hmm. We could base it on trust, but we base it on suspicion. And that hits everyone. It doesn't just hit, it hits the folks, people on disability, it hits people on welfare, people first. but you know, it's like, it eventually, it's really kind of touching on everyone, because, well, what if he, I don't know, is that guy really working enough? For like, it's just all this stuff. It just creates like,
and
and as we go towards more, you know, like jobs have been going a certain way and costs have been going the other way, and so you add this on top of it, and it just creates a mess.
The people that were that were designated as people with disabilities back then, when that premier was in, there used to be pensions. There used to be pensions, and then they turned into magic pink unicorn. Poof, turned into, took it away. It's a abracadabra poof.
Yeah, because pensions used to be a protected thing, and they still are a protected thing, or they should be. They're a protected income for everybody else, except if you're on income assistance. You know, and it's just like,
and around the world,
and it's like people.
That's why they need two separate ministries. That's why they need.
People don't realize that, you know, that this is what I hate about. I mean, I put a little poll quote, or I did a little soundbite today about you know, our human rights tribunals, and I don't like the idea that you know, you have governments and you have tribunals that change the goalposts. You know, you shouldn't be allowed to change the goalposts and say, well, these goalposts apply for everyone else except if you're this. We're going to shift the goalposts over here, and you deserve a pink unicorn because that's fair. That's not discriminatory. We're just changing the goalposts. We're not doing anything discriminatory. We're just moving the goalpost here.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what?
It's like, this is what happened back. Like, it's like, where, you know, Margaret Thatcher said the liberal equivalent, or what are they called? Labor. Tony Blair was her greatest creation, because it's like, at that point in England with universal credit, in Canada with like the stuff that Jack Layton talks about in his book on homelessness, how we used to be the envy of the world for affordable housing, and then that went away, and then everything else that also happened with welfare here, and then TANF in the United States. It's a whole like ideology of neoliberalism that literally shoved all of us in that same utilitarian neoliberal direction, and that's all of it when it all changed. And this is the thing. This is the point that I've made when it comes, like, politics is important. I'm not saying it's not, but it's like, where's the housing crisis happening? What's happened? Like, in England for the last 10 years, you've had a conservative government. In America for the last 10 years, you've had both. And in Canada for the last 10 years, you've had a liberal government. So it's like, it's not, you know, it's Trudeau. I mean, I don't like Trudeau actually either. But it's not, it's as silly as saying it's our mayor here. It's like,
well, no, I do wonder,
it's
though.
The whole system that's
but I do wonder, though. You mentioned Jack Layton.
It can affect things, but
you mentioned Jack Layton, and I do wonder what, you know, the kind of the big if, you know, of like, if he was still around, what would be different? Because I bet you there would still be quite a bit different. Like, you know, we've always talked about, you know, that people when you know, every person's a stone, and they throw a stone and they create echoes, right? And I believe Jack Layton is one of those people. Like, even in his time that he was alive, he had like lots of good echoes, you know. But you wonder if he had stayed around a little bit longer, like how many more echoes would he have, or, you know, of throwing the stone and creating that, you know, ripple, I should say, not echo, ripple.
Well, Jack Layton wanted to create a such a positive change for the country. He would have made a very good prime minister. Very good prime minister.
He would have.
All levels of governments from all levels, they all respected him. And I mean, sure, there might have been just some differences here and there, which there always is. But they respected it for everything that he wanted to accomplish. He wanted to see the best of everybody in the country. And I believe there was, I have to find that part there, but it was something about people with disabilities too. He wasn't shy. Like, he wasn't shy on standing up for what he believed in. Like, he believed that there was equity. Like, there was equity. Like, people needed to have the opportunity to blossom, to shine, right? And unfortunately, now we're seeing, well, with the current federal government, I mean, it's always excuses, right? I mean, it's all political. It's like delay, because it doesn't affect their lives, the policymakers. So let's just delay the CDB for 1 year. Oh no, it's 18 months. No, now I hear it might be 2 years.
The CDB really? And the DERB situation. I mean, I'm going to push for DERB, and I'm going to that CDB comes out great. But it's such an example of how all this stuff is unfortunately true, because it's like this should have been a slam dunk. It should have been like, oh my God, we have. It's like I'll try not to bang on the desk, but it's like it's like we have disabled people in Canada in poverty. Fuck that. We're changing that tomorrow. It's like, why? They don't know. What do you mean they don't know? How could they not know? Like it's just nonsense. Like it's like there is a kind of a mentality and ideology. There's a system at play that is
or when they say we have to study it when there's already like 30 years of studies.
I could have grabbed one of these once a week, gone to Starbucks or Tim Hortons. Me and Brent could have gone or whatever. And in 1 year, we could have had something that could have dwarfed that skeleton of a report or whatever skeleton of a thing they have.
It didn't take a bunch of minions to try to work it. Oh, we still haven't done it yet. Let's kick it down the road a little bit more.
It's like I don't know how many times in my building I'm like, I'm close to like wanting to scream, I'm a janitor and I get this.
We've been on for over an hour now. Did you want to start wrapping up, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, we probably should. I'll play some music because I've got to help.
We'll get Tom. We'll play a couple of tunes there, and then. But just to wrap it up to people listening to today's podcast. It's been quite entertaining talking about. I say entertaining because I find it very knowledgeable of what Tom has to talk about basic income, and there's always so much more to learn. I mean, and that's why Tom keeps coming back on. I mean, not just because of basic income. I mean, but also he plays.
It's because we like him.
Because we like him.
Because we like him.
And he plays.
I like you guys too. And then like there was this one's for Brent. Thanks for the times that you've given me. The memories are all in my mind. And now that we've come to the end of the rainbow, there's something I must say out loud. Come on, Brent, do it with me. 'Cause you once, twice, 3 times lady. I just love it because that way it froze in the video was like, 'cause you're one. That's right. That was just
If people don't know what we're talking about, go back through the history of Breaking with Brents.
There's it's the one where you're at the bus stop, I think.
It's the one where you're at the bus stop.
Not just once, not just twice. 3 times.
You do the hand motion. Right.
Before we launch the show again, we were talking about bloopers. I think what I'll do is I'll do a little cut up before the show, and I'll post it as a blooper reel.
Yeah.
And what's funny is Google. Sometimes they don't say memories, right? It'll give you a little clip. And they put together this one segment. I wanted to put it on the Twitter, but I didn't dare because somehow like Google likes to put tunes in there with it for some reason. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but they find like a theme, and I don't know where they get this music from, but it was pretty cool. And it was one of the artists. And I thought, wow, that would be awesome because it blended perfectly in both the bus, and they put one in where exactly what we're talking about now. Not just once, twice, 3 times the bus went by and the wind was blowing. And I hear this. It was they had a song they put in there. It was "Candles in the Wind."
No, I put a song at the end of one of the videos. It was "Dust in the Wind." Remember?
But they had this one went right in with it, and I was going to put it there. And last time I did it, Twitter had a freaking hissy fit. Oh yeah, they pulled it down. They're like, no, the artist didn't like it. And so I responded back to Google. I said, you guys are the ones who freaking put it in there, not my fault.
Yeah, it's weird stuff for that. TikTok's okay with anything, but this one over here isn't okay with it. I've had stuff taken down from Instagram because it was like, well, that's commercialization. It's like, I reposted it from Scott. What are you talking? Anyway, So
yeah, I know. And then they said, Dan, it's been retweeted and liked. It's been retweeted and liked. And there was like thousands and thousands of.
No.
Oh my gosh, shit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so-
oh, good. But anyway,
I'll do an actual original now.
They
And
showed
let's
us
see.
going forward, and then they showed it going back once, twice, 3 times. I was just like,
About
yeah.
to go buy a big one.
I was like,
There we go. 1, 2, 3. Got no time for tomorrow, for tomorrow doesn't come. Move at the speed of people, count the stars from which they come. We're angelic troublemakers, angelic troublemakers, here we come. Angelic troublemakers, angelic troublemakers, here we go. Well, the truth about this land, time out of mind of man, doesn't help if you claim it, let the people rearrange it, that's the plan. We're angelic troublemakers, angelic troublemakers, here we go. Mad, bad, and dangerous to know, troublemakers, here we go. Hey. Well, we're here to break the clock, free the wind, make Renaissance begin. It's all in our hands, words to shape at our command. We're angelic troublemakers, angelic troublemakers, here we go. 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 There we go.
Okay, I have a request. We didn't rehearse this, but I heard that you're a fan of Arlo Guthrie, so I would like as a song that we go out on, Ellis's Restaurant.
No.
Oh yeah.
You can get anything you want at Ellis's Restaurant.
I like
That'd be
Arlo. I've never actually played that song.
Oh, really? Or how about
Yeah, Ellis's Restaurant
I
Massacre.
don't want a pickle. I just want to ride my motorcycle.
Hey,
And I don't want to die. I just want to ride my motorcycle.
Motorcycle.
I want to ride my bicycle. I want
That's great.
to ride.
You can get
Anything you want at Ellis's Restaurant.
You can get
Get anything you want
at Alice's
at
restaurant.
restaurant.
We'll walk
Right
right
in
in
around
the
the
back,
back.
just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant.
There you go.
Yeah.
Elvis has left the building.
Wonderful. Looking forward to the next episode of
Yes.
more tunes and more entertainment and more information about basic income. It's all coming your way, everyone. Stay tuned for Tom Pogson coming on very soon again, and
Yes.
we'll have an update on
Coming to a theater near you.
yeah, coming soon to a podcast near you on Canadians with Disabilities and their Allies. Thanks, Tom, for dropping by today. It's wonderful to have you on. Everyone tuning in today, it's been a great pleasure having you listen in on today's show. Hope you enjoyed, as usual, always all the great guests I have on, like Tom, learning more about basic income, how it's going to benefit so many people in Canada and around the world, because the actual progress is moving fast. Studies, they've been done, like Tom said. I mean, like decades and decades ago, Tom, right? I mean, it's crazy why it's taken the politicians in Canada so long to kind of get it together. Because really, like, if you think about I mean, maybe quickly before we end the show here, and then I end it this way, but I mean, just get your take about it. I mean, we've got the EI, we've got the senior supplement, we've got childcare supplements, we've got, the disability, we've got income assistance, we've got all these other programs, CPP, we've got all these programs in place. Yeah. How hard would it be, really, to?
Yeah, there's something I should have added, because on the last show I noticed, I remember you guys said, Tom will know about the financing. Well, Joseph's quite amazing at it. But another good point I just want to make in closing is I'm a member of Basic Income BC, and we were co-founded with a lady named Susan Abels, who's also she was worked in government, and she also is one of the members of Coalition Canada. And as she said, when it comes to finance, she often kind of jokes with me. It's like, you really don't need to do all this research, Tom. It's like, really, like, a lot of the tax wonks and the people in policy, and they crunch the numbers. They do kind of Joseph's thing, and they do modeling and stuff like that, and they'll figure it out. Like, as the late Senator Siegel said, this isn't rocket science. We know how to do this. Like with the GIS, we know how to create a basic income guarantee in Canada, and it can be done, and it would be more effective than what we have now. And so, yeah, it's absolutely financially as possible as anything.
Yeah, and to end that segment into that comment about it's not rocket science, I know a good song to end the segment of, so I'm gonna
Rocket Man.
I was just gonna say that. I was just what I'll do is I will actually say thank everyone for tuning in, and Tom, if you want to do a little clip of.
But just before we go to Rocket Man, I just wanted to say next week on Tuesday we have Mike Maurice coming to talk about the e-petitions. I think that's important because he's going to be talking about the e-petitions in Derp. So that'll be Tuesday. So tune in for that. And then on Thursday, we have Minnie Sinclair, and she's never been on the show before, but she's going to be talking about trying to survive on ODSP and the strategies that she's using to survive. So we'll talk about her story on Thursday.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And especially the petitions. There's 2 petitions going out there right now, everyone. And I really encourage you, when you see them on social media, on Twitter, please sign them. The more that we get signed, the better. It puts more pressure on the politicians from the federal government. These are federal government petitions. They are endorsed by federal MPs. One's from Benita Zarello, and the other one's from Mike Maurice. Mike Maurice is coming on Tuesday. We're hoping to try to get Bonita Zarello.
Actually, it's confirmed that she will not be able to. It's been confirmed.
She won't be.
It's confirmed that she can't do it. But because Jeff did check, and apparently her schedule's too tight. And I kind of knew it was going to be a big ask to get them both on, but I did try, and I think she's going to try to come on. I think maybe sometime in September.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
But, yeah.
So I really encourage people to really sign those petitions. I know some people say, well, petitions, they don't do anything. If we don't try, we don't say we didn't try, right? I mean, and these are the MPs that are actually trying to really put more pressure on the up above people to basically make it happen. Like DERB, like we need DERB now, not yesterday. I mean, not tomorrow. We need it today. We don't need it 2 years from now. CERB didn't take that long.
No.
Gosh, right? So
they can move when they want.
So I'm gonna say thanks everyone for tuning in today, and stay tuned until the next episode next Tuesday. Yeah. And Monday I'm actually gonna be going out to Campbell River. Oh, yeah. So
Pierre,
yes, with Jeff and Sonia. So
Yeah.
Ooh, scared. They're like, oh my God.
And I think it's gonna be a long, long time. Done, baby, everything you find. And I'm the man, I think it at all. Oh no, no, no. I'm a rocket man. Rocket man, jumping up, you don't ever know. And I think it's gonna be a long, long time. And I think it's gonna be a long, long time.
For Derb. And I think it's going to be a long, long time.
Durbin.
And I think it's going to be a long, long time.
I've never played that one before either. I'm playing the verse. I'm like, oh, that's not that hard.
Durb's gonna be a long, long time.
It's going to be a long, long time. Anyway, we're going to punch out.
Yeah,
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Cheers.
Saying good night, Tom.
Yeah.